So it looks like gamers actually do know what they want, and it isn't another $40 extraction shooter. Who would have thought? Crimson Desert just crossed 3 million copies sold, and honestly dude, this is a massive middle finger to the modern gaming industry and this desperate addiction to live service trends. Like, for years now, we've had these out-of-touch executives in their fancy boardrooms telling us that single-player games are dead. They look at the massive budgets required to make a game today and say, nah, let's make a hero shooter where we can sell $20 cosmetic skins and battle passes. And then they pump out absolute dog water like Concord or Highguard. Watch it die in a literal week or two, and then get the surprise Pikachu face when they have to shut down the whole studio. Pearl Abyss just dropped the news on Facebook of all places. Yeah, Facebook, because apparently my grandma is their target demographic now. Anyway, the news was Crimson Desert is sitting pretty at 3 million sales, and this is absolutely huge. You have to understand that this game originally started out as an MMORPG. It was supposed to be a prequel to Black Desert Online, but somewhere along the line, the developers looked around, saw how exhausted gamers were of getting the endless grind of live service games, and pivoted to making a massive sprawling single-player action-adventure game. And thank God that they did, because what we got is absolutely unhinged in the best way possible. But of course, you can't have a cool, successful game come out without some game journalist finding something completely ridiculous to complain about. I was reading this article on Polygon about Crimson Desert's story and setting, and this dude is literally crying about the vulgarity. Like, he says the setting of Crimson Desert is a personal hell for him because the characters curse too much, or like whatever. And I'm just sitting here reading this like, really dude? The vulgarity? Did you also have a seizure while watching Game of Thrones? It's a mature fantasy game, dude. You're literally running around a world where a giant steampunk mech can step on your head, dragons are flying over entire villages, and there are literal trains crashing through the environment, and you're upset because a mercenary dropped an F-bomb. These journalists are so incredibly soft, it actually hurts my brain. They want every game to be this sanitized, perfectly safe corporate product that offends absolutely nobody. They probably wanted the main character to sit down and have a group therapy session with the bandits about their feelings instead of drop kicking them into a campfire. But that's exactly why games like Concord fail and games like Crimson Desert succeed. People want grit, they want edge, they want a world that actually feels raw and unpredictable, not some focus-tested slop designed by a committee of HR reps. Or even a game like Highguard that was made within a bubble of yes men. Because if you remember, they wanted that game to fly under the radar and never even wanted it to appear at the Game Awards. Now to be fair, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows for Crimson Desert at launch. If you remember, that game actually came out to some pretty mixed reviews. A lot of people were complaining about bugs, the performance was kinda chugging in some of the bigger cities, and some of the combat mechanics felt a little clunky. And the controls, well, to put it nicely, you will probably have an easier time trying to put together a Rubik's Cube than solving a puzzle in this game. And because of that, Pearl Abyss's stock actually took a pretty big nosedive. Investors got spooked, everyone on Twitter was screaming that the game was a flop, and it looked like another AAA disaster was brewing. But wait, didn't the stock just go up actually? Yeah, I was looking at this article and suddenly Pearl Abyss's stock is shooting through the moon. And why is that? Because instead of panicking and abandoning the game, or trying to milk the remaining players with microtransactions to make up for lost sales, the developers actually put their heads down and fixed the game. They dropped an update or two that smoothed out the performance, tweaked the combat responsiveness, and made it so I didn't need to look up a tutorial just to learn how to flip a light switch. Now gamers have suddenly turned around on it. The reception shifted from mixed to very positive. It just goes to show that gamers are actually forgiving when you don't treat them like walking wallets. Look at Cyberpunk 2077 or No Man's Sky. If you actually put in the work to fix your broken game, people will come back and support it. Compare that to how Sony handled Concord. Desert. Oh, the game didn't sell 10 million copies on day 1? Well, let's pull it from the store in 14 days, shut down the servers, fire the studio, and salt the earth. It's like these big publishers have tunnel vision. If a game isn't an instant billion-dollar hit, they just throw it out in the trash. But Pearl Abyss stuck with Crimson Desert. They listened to the community for feedback, and now they are reaping the rewards with 3 million copies sold and a surging stock price. And seriously dude, the gameplay in Crimson Desert is something else. I haven't had this much fun messing around in an open world since like maybe Dragon's Dogma 2. The combat is just freaking insane. You can literally grab a dude and WWE powerbomb him into a group of his friends, or use a grappling hook over a wall and do the same thing. People are riding dragons, there are literal robots just chilling here, and the puzzles trigger my PTSD with heights. It's like someone took every cool idea a 12-year-old ever had and threw it into a blender with a $100 million budget, and no microtransactions because the studio said they wanted to give us a premium experience. Compare this to the slop Ubisoft has been feeding us for the past decade in Assassin's Creed Shadows before they pulled the plug on that game, or whatever Far Cry game we're on now. Combat is just attacking enemies until the damage sponge health bar slowly drains to 0. You hit a guy with a sword 40 times and he just stands there because he's level 12 and you're level 11. Assassinating people, which is Assassin's Creed's biggest feature, has been rendered invalid because of a level difference. It's just an absolute chore. But in Crimson Desert, if I hit a guy with a sword, he reacts. If I drop kick a goblin off a cliff, he actually falls off the cliff. It's an actual physics-based playground. It's dynamic, it's chaotic, and it's just fun for the sake of fun. And this is exactly what gamers have been begging for. We don't want to log in and do daily chores. We don't want to open a battle pass and see that we need to kill 50 enemies with a pistol just to unlock a pink weapon charm. We just want to get lost in the world. I mean, look at the indie and AA scene right now. Slay the Spire 2 is still hitting insane numbers. Claire Obscure Expedition 33 proved that you can make a gorgeous award-winning game for $10 million. And you don't need to try to reinvent the live service wheel to do that. Resident Evil Requiem is still dominating YouTube feeds because it's just a solid pulse-pounding single-player experience. And honestly, aside from Resident Evil Requiem and whatever Nintendo is doing, because yeah, Nintendo is still killing it these days, we just let them enjoy their furries and hope we don't accidentally make eye contact with them. But they are dropping a lot of hits now. There just hasn't been much to get excited about in the AAA space because it's the same tired hero shooters and other live service games pumping out battle passes and $20 pink character skins. But these massive publishers like Sony and EA just refuse to listen. Like, look at Bungie right now with Marathon. They're sitting at, what, barely 30,000 players on Steam? They dumped $200 million into a live service extraction shooter that nobody asked for, and it's a dying, slow, painful death. You have to deal with weird overheating mechanics that force you to walk slowly, an art style that hurts my eyes, and a community of sweaty tryhards who shoot you on sight. It feels like a second job. Marathon only sold like 1.2 million copies apparently. Meanwhile, Pearl Abyss drops a single-player game with no mandatory online connection, no predatory microtransactions, and it casually sells 3 million copies. The writing's on the wall here, dude. I just hope other studios are paying attention to this because AAA gaming is hanging on by a thread right now. We've got massive layoffs happening every other month, studios getting Thanos snapped out of existence, and executives pushing out half-finished live service traps, hoping to catch lightning in a bottle. They see games like Helldivers 2 or Arc Raiders making money, and they completely lose their minds, forgetting that those games offer completely unique cooperative social experiences, instead of, you know, just generic competitive sweatfests. But hey, there's a twerking emoji in the microtransaction shop, so I guess that makes up for everything. Games like Crimson Desert and Resident Evil Requiem proves that there's still a massive hungry market for big budget single player games. People will gladly drop $60 or $70 on a game if it actually respects their time and offers a complete package on day one. I don't want to rent server space until some boardroom executive decides that profit margins aren't big enough. I want to actually actually, like, feel like I own a game. I mean, in most cases I probably don't, but I at least want to feel that way. I want to be able to pause the game to go take out the trash without worrying about getting disconnected. I want to play offline without little Timmy screaming in my ear about his graham crackers. So yeah, huge shout out to Pearl Abyss and Capcom for actually turning things around and giving us games worth playing. Crimson Desert took a risk by pivoting away from the MMO formula. They took a hit when the game launched with some jank, but they actually put in the work to fix it instead of abandoning ship. And now they're sitting on one of the biggest hits of the year. If the rest of the industry doesn't wake up and realize that the live service bubble has burst, we're gonna keep seeing these massive studios drop like flies. And a lot more employees are gonna end up on the unemployment line. Anyway, dude, if you made it this far, you really ought to consider pressing subscribe. This is RageWatch, and I'm out. Thanks for watching.
In the tunnel.